Hi there, David here again, coming to you on behalf of BeInCrypto. Today, we're going to be doing a direct comparison between two subjects we've definitely covered on this channel before. Specifically, the two passive income opportunities of staking and yield farming. We'll cover some basic recaps of what you need to know about both of these methods, but if you want to do some deeper explorations on each one individually, then check out some of our previous videos which we've linked down in the description. We also want to be clear about our terminology. We're going to be comparing the pros and cons of staking assets in order to help secure a network to the pros and cons of using your assets as capital for more complex yield farming practices. Of course, we'll also explain some of the top options available for going either of these routes should you want to start getting involved. Okay, what are we waiting for? Let's get into a breakdown of staking versus yield farming for earning passive returns in 2021 and beyond. Okay, we're going to begin with staking. Staking is a term used for actually many different things in crypto, but as we said, here we mean the type of staking that secures proof-of-stake blockchains. For those who aren't familiar, proof-of-stake chains are secured by validators. Validators confirm transactions and create blocks, and in order to become a validator, users must stake the native asset. This keeps validators honest because they'll lose their stake if they're malicious in any way, but they earn passive income if they're not. There are a lot of different details that can come with staking depending on what blockchain you're interacting with. Platforms for staking, minimum deposits, and lock-in periods can all vary, but for many coins there are services that can make the process pretty simple. For example, many wallets can offer one-click delegated staking. What this means is that you simply decide how many coins you want to stake, click stake, and the software handles the transactions in the background, usually to a pool of other users' funds that are all staked together, with rewards then being distributed based on the size of each user's stake. This can make for a simple way to be both actively supporting a blockchain network as well as earning a stream of income. The more you can put up as capital, the more you stand to make. Actual returns can vary, but numbers in the 5 to 10% range for APY are not uncommon. Okay, so now let's discuss the pros and cons of getting involved in staking proof-of-stake coins. We already mentioned you can make a return, but that's true of many opportunities in crypto. What's nice about this method, though, is that the returns are much more predictable and stable than with other investment vehicles. That isn't to say they can't change, but as with everything in crypto, you should do some research on the chain you choose, as the developers should be pretty transparent about how returns are generated and distributed, including ideas of what kind of percentages to expect. Also, try and make sure to stick to fairly reputable blockchains that have thriving communities, in order to avoid scams and poorly designed networks. Okay, now the cons. 1. In some cases, staking requires you to lock in your funds for a certain amount of time. To be fair, some do not, and the details can again vary wildly based upon the chain you're using. For example, staking for Ethereum 2.0 means your funds will be locked up until the network is fully operational, which could take a year or even more. Others are more specific, such as 90 days, 6 months, or 1 year. On the other extreme is Cardano, which has no time limits and allows you to unstake and move your funds at your disclosure. The other main con is simply that staking often isn't as lucrative as many other investment opportunities, such as yield farming. We'll of course come back to that in a bit, but just know that in some ways, by going this route, you're giving up extreme returns for more stable ones, not to mention the knowledge that you're actually helping the network operate. Okay, now let's quickly talk about a few of the top options out there for staking. We already mentioned Ethereum 2.0 and Cardano, but now let's take a slightly closer look. First, Ethereum. As we mentioned, the proof-of-stake chain isn't fully ready yet, but part of the launching process is getting validators live on the network. When the Beacon chain first began last year, the relatively small amount of validators saw APYs as high as 20%, but since then many more have begun staking, and now returns are around 5 to 6%. Then there's Cardano. Cardano is a somewhat unique staking system based around pools. Basically, as any staking pool grows, the rewards slowly drop, meaning that small pools pay better than larger ones. This incentivizes stakers to migrate towards small pools and create new ones. This minimizes centralization and has seen the returns stabilize at around 5% on average. Lastly, we wanted to mention Cosmos. Cosmos staking is a little bit more lucrative than the other ones we've mentioned, coming in at around 10%. This is of course attractive. Just be aware that it does take 21 days to unstake funds, so you won't have access to them on short notice if you do go this route. Okay, there's in fact many more options out there, and if you'd like to learn about some of them, then definitely check out our top 7 staking coins in 2021 video, where we go deeper in depth on the coins we've mentioned here, as well as several others. That'll do it for our coverage of staking. There's a ton more to know, but we've made our basic case and mentioned a few of the more accessible coins to work with. Now let's turn our attention to yield farming. Here again, let's define it. Yield farming is a generally more complex process than staking, and doesn't support the security of a blockchain. It does, however, support the larger market. Generally, it starts with a liquidity pool. We're keeping this simple, but liquidity pools are what are used to operate decentralized exchanges. Users are incentivized to put funds into these pools because, again, they can earn passive income just by participating. Basically, these tokens represent the amount of capital entered into the pool and must be returned to exit a position. However, while in the pool, users can actually take these tokens and then restake them into a whole separate pool, earning even more returns that way. Sometimes, these second layer returns can even themselves be reinvested, and it's just this type of layered staking of assets that gives yield farming its power. This was just a basic example, as even more complex strategies can be worked out, tying together multiple opportunities. Still, hopefully you can see why some investors are deeply attracted to working with these methods. Okay, so what are the real benefits here? Well, as always, the number one boon is money. Yield farming returns can also vary, but are not uncommonly in the double, triple, occasionally quadruple percentiles in terms of APY. Before you get too excited, higher returns definitely means higher risks, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But the point is that this route stands to give notably better rewards and added diversity to a portfolio. So why wouldn't everyone want to do this? Well, for one, as mentioned, it's kind of complicated. It can involve multiple transactions, often utilizing multiple platforms, and users need to know exactly where to look to find these opportunities. That all being said, there are services that streamline the whole process, and we'll mention some in a minute, but don't expect the simplicity of staking that we described for proof of stake options earlier. Furthermore, yield farming is, again, more risky. By channeling funds through multiple smart contracts, you increase your exposure to threats of malice and network errors. That isn't to say there aren't perfectly safe opportunities out there, but it takes a greater level of education and due diligence to be sure you're using reputable platforms to stake established assets. Those triple-digit returns we mentioned generally come by either using several layers of rewards reinvesting and/or are based upon smaller cap, riskier assets in the first place. We're not here to give investment advice, but we can't emphasize enough. The bigger the claimed returns are, the more risky the venture. Especially if you're new, maybe don't get too greedy and stick to somewhat more modest opportunities. Okay, if after all of that yield farming sounds good to you, then let's take a peek at a few of the places that make it pretty easy. Also, while Ethereum options are by far the most used currently, we thought we would focus on some of the places you can get started without having to worry about high fees. First off, let's mention PancakeSwap. Hosted on the Binance Smart Chain, this is another platform that we do a much deeper dive into in another video, so definitely check that out if you want to know more. Basically, PancakeSwap offers a good range of liquidity providing as well as yield farming opportunities that can generally be accessed with just a few clicks. The interface is clean, aesthetically pleasing, and pretty easy to understand. If you're new and you want to take your first steps, PancakeSwap's a good place to start. Next up is QuickSwap. Based on Uniswap 2.0, QuickSwap is hosted on Polygon, so it's compatible with Ethereum assets, but the speed and fees are massively improved. Not quite as user-friendly in the interface department, but by combing through the menus and pages, you should be able to see where you can provide liquidity as well as then farm yield on those pool tokens. If it's Ethereum assets you want to work with, but don't want the high fees, then QuickSwap really should be the first place you look. Lastly, we wanted to provide a suggestion that actually combines many suggestions into one. That is Zapper. We mentioned Zapper in our top 10 DeFi tools video, but if you're specifically into yield farming, then you really can't overlook this one. Zapper can connect to 9 different blockchains, including the obvious ones like many we just mentioned, and it's adding more all the time. The service basically connects to your wallet and can sort through virtually all of the liquidity and yield farming opportunities out there to show you which ones are available specifically to you based on the assets you hold. You can then of course use the platform to add or remove positions, monitor returns, and generally manage your entire DeFi portfolio from a single interface. New features are being added frequently, making Zapper a pretty powerful tool for anyone exploring this investment space. Okay, so what's the final say? Should you get into staking to validate networks, or should you supercharge your returns in yield farming? Well, obviously you'll have to decide for yourself, but let's do a quick recap. Staking is preferable for those who want safer, easier, and more stable returns, and can also provide a degree of pride in helping to take care of the network. However, there isn't much room to boost returns any higher than what the tokenomics allow. Yield farming helps add liquidity to the broader market, and can compound returns many times over, even leaving room for clever combination strategies and creativity. Yet these added returns come at the price of increased complexity and risk. By the way, you can't get into any of the opportunities we outlined today if you don't have some crypto first. So if you don't, why not consider buying some on the Stormgain cryptocurrency exchange? Stormgain is not only one of the hottest up-and-coming exchanges out there, it also offers several valuable perks, such as a loyalty program, bonuses for referrals, annual interest on crypto deposits, and using the official app, you can even begin cloud mining cryptocurrency for free today. Whether you want Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, or an array of other cryptocurrencies, just know that Stormgain offers a little bit more than other exchanges, so be sure to check them out. Okay, that'll do it for us today. Clearly, we were barely able to scratch the surface here, as both these topics have so much you can learn about them. So be sure to get out there, do your own research, maybe check out some of our other videos on these subjects. Of course, as we all know, there's changes happening all the time in the world of cryptocurrency, and you're going to want to keep up. So why not check us out at BeInCrypto.com, where you'll find daily updates, analysis, and more. Also, don't forget about our other content right here on YouTube, such as interviews, educational videos, and our bi-weekly news show. And lastly, if trading is your thing, then definitely come join our trading community on Telegram, where you'll get access to the latest technical analysis from our top traders. As always, thanks to everybody watching, and we'll see you right here again real soon.